Welcome to another episode of the Peak Potential Success Show. My name is Fong. I'm an entrepreneur, business strategist, real estate investor, speaker, also best-selling author, and every single day I help others unlock potentials and guide them to succeed. Today on the show, we have another fascinating guest, and on the show, we interview celebrities, entrepreneurs, business CEOs, athletes, and artists to find out their path to success. How do they overcome challenges and adversity, and of course, their keys to success. And today's guest is somebody who's been helping people from all over the world make better impacts on stage, become more confident on stage, become more successful on stage, and of course, making more money on stage. I've had the privilege of speaking with him before and interviewing him before. He is an amazing person. He has this really great skill set that lots of people really lack when it comes to really engaging people on stages, and he absolutely has that. So I'm very excited to have him here. He's also the best-selling author of the book Losing Faith and Finding Hope. So please welcome coach, best-selling author, and award-winning speaker, Mr. Jesse CRUZ.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, thanks for being here. It's always a joy seeing you and also speaking with you. Very excited to have you here. So speaking is one of those things that lots of people are afraid of. As the saying goes, they rather die than actually go and speak on stages. How did you get to become the person that you are today, who's absolutely fearless when it comes to speaking on stages?
Well, it took some time to get there. I remember I was asked a question. I'm actually going to make a post about this, but I was asked a question about 10 years ago. Hey, do you want to speak? And I looked at this person like I thought they were insane because I have no background, no experience, no education in speaking. Why would you ask me to speak? But for some reason, I felt called to say yes. So I gave my first presentation at a correctional facility, and I remember how nervous I was. And then when I was done, I was like, you know what? I was able to see impact in that room. I was able to make a difference. And I decided that I had to get over my own limited beliefs, get over my own fears, and get over my own doubts because it's not about me. It's about how I help other people. And once I was able to start focusing on how I can help other people, then it didn't really matter how I was feeling about if I was good enough or not. Because if the people in the room are being impacted, it doesn't really matter what I think. And so for the speaker out there who wants to be more impactful, it's just always remember it's not about you, it's about the audience. And if you think about how you can best serve them, you will be fearless.
Mhm. That is absolutely very true. When people are so focused on what they're doing, they kind of lose sight on why they're there. So when it's really for the people out there to listen to you, to watch you, you really focus on that attention to what you really need to do. Now, was speaking something that you've always wanted to do? Like, is that in the back of your mind? I know, like, you didn't plan on it, but was it something that you wanted to do?
I didn't want anything to do with it. I was an author at the time, so I was writing books. Well, I started to write books and then that led into more speaking. And I was like, well, I guess if I want to sell more books and I want to make more impact, I want to reach more people, I should probably learn how to speak in front of a room to a whole bunch of people. And so my goal wasn't really ever speaking. The goal was always to reach people. And I just happened to learn that communication, speaking on a stage in front of a room, whether done virtually or in person, is one of the most impactful ways to reach more people.
Mhm. It's actually pretty interesting that lots of people out there think that, well, my product speaks for itself. My book speaks for itself. Therefore, I don't need to go out there and do all these videos. I don't have to go out there and do all these engagements. What do you find is the biggest difference between actually going out there and speaking versus having the product go and speak for itself or having somebody else promote it for you?
S- Sorry, could you repeat that again? I want to make sure I answer your question correctly.
Like the difference between having the product speak for itself or having you go out there and actually speak and talk about the product or services and what you're good at. Because lots of people are going, you know what? I have the product, I'll post it out there, they'll find me. But the engagement just isn't the same.
Yeah, I think when it comes to like your own product, because like I believe that when you make your own product, you should believe in it. When you have your own speech, you should believe in it. And I think a lot of times when it comes to products and services, people they don't have this full belief in themselves. They don't have this full ability to fully believe in what it is that they do to make difference. And if you don't really believe in what you do, then I believe that's going to be quite a huge problem. So I just think that being able to do that is going to be key.
Mhm. Now, people out there have a lot of fears about speaking. I know you've been working with a lot of people from all over the world, different backgrounds, different cultures, different levels of experience. What have you been finding as the top three or four fears that people have when it comes to speaking?
The reason I laugh is because like even experienced speakers still deal with it. So the fear, the number one fear in the world is public speaking. But the truth behind that is that's not the actual fear. The actual fear is the opinions of the people in the room of what you think they might think about your speaking.
Mm,
Right? So the top fear is always going to be the opinions of people. And then the other fear is like a fear of rejection. What if they don't want me here? What if they don't like it? And it's the fear of being judged. And these are just common things for that we all deal with in humanity of being able to, we just don't want to be judged. We don't want to be rejected and we want to be well liked. And
mm,
speaking actually is a big risk because you could be rejected and you could be judged and you could be criticized. And so it takes a special kind of brave person to be able to get on a stage and still speak, even with all those things in the background. And so the other thing, other hidden fear I would say is the fear of not knowing your material, right? So speakers like, well, what if I forget my words or what if I forget what I'm going to say? Or, well, that comes down to how much are you practicing before you get on the stage? A lot of times people think you can just get on the stage and speak. No, you got to practice over and over and over again. You got to really know your material
mm.
and you'll be more confident once you put more practice in.
Right. For you, how did you overcome that sense of having people judge you or having people reject you? Because like in this day and age with social media, it's so easy for people to write a comment, so easy for people to send messages out there that could be negative or judgmental. How do you approach that, and how do you overcome facing these comments and that feedback?
You know what, man? It really just comes down to you're going to get criticism no matter what. Like, so you might as well, if you do get it, understand that usually the criticism comes from a place of someone beneath you. And that's one thing I've had to learn because people who are more successful than you, people who are doing bigger and better things than you, they are not usually that critical. And the reason is because they're too busy focused on their dream and their purpose to turn around and criticize somebody else. And so the people that are throwing the stones and casting the shade and doing all the criticism are people beneath you. And when someone is beneath you, only thing they can do is try to pull you down. And if you can just remember, anyone that's criticizing you is most of the time just someone beneath you trying to pull you back down to their level, then their criticism won't no, it just won't mean as much because you've already accepted the fact that the only reason they're saying these things is because they see a bright light in you. And when people see a bright light in you, there's two things that will happen. One, they either will be inspired by the bright light and be warned by that bright light, or two, they're going to feel blinded by that light and they want the blindness to stop. And the only way to stop them blinding and hurting my eyes is try to unplug it. And so they're trying to unplug your light by putting you down.
Mhm.
And so just remember, like, that's how I look at it. When so many people put me down and criticize me, I gotta, is this valid criticism or is this someone just trying to unplug my light? And most of the time, right, it's just unplugging my light. But the criticism that I do get, typically, hopefully that's coming from someone like one of my coaches that I've hired and I work with. And they're doing that out of a place of love and experience. And they're not doing that to hurt me or pull me down.
Mhm. You mentioned coaches, and I think having a coach is very, very important. They're able to see things that you may or may not notice, or it comes from somebody who's like they may have some comments about something that you kind of already know, but you kind of need them to say it to you. What are some of the things that you had to adjust after your coach mentioned it or kind of shine a light to it?
Well, because I want to be liked and a people pleaser by nature, first it hurts my pride, right? Oh my gosh, I cannot believe you would ever say something bad about me, right? So we have like this inflated version of ourselves, like high ego, high pride.
Mm,
And so for me, it's like we're really understanding like not everyone that's saying something that you don't like is actually wrong. And for me, it's like, how do I find the truth in this and remove my feelings and understand that this person has my best interest? And that really comes down to the person, your own ability to discern their spirit and their intentions.
Mhm.
And so for me, it's like I just want to make sure that I'm listening. I heard a saying before, and I loved it. It says, don't let the success go to your head, and don't let the criticism live in your heart. And I think if people can do that, they'll be more even keeled in the fact that when the criticisms happen, or even when the encouragement happens, they don't get puffed up with pride and they don't get emotionally damaged. And so it's understanding if you just stay in your purpose, you're going to have both of those no matter what, but you still got to follow the purpose no matter what people say.
Mhm. Um, so very, very true when it comes to keeping certain things kind of level-headed so that you're not way over or way under when you get that kind of feedback. Having that confidence in yourself is also very, very important. Now, when it comes to confidence and having that positive mindset, that's something that you kind of have to train as well in order to have that strong and not have all that negativity affect you as much as other people or as before. So how do you maintain a strong positive mindset? What's your routine? What do you do in the morning? How do you approach your day?
hmm Right. So there's many different things, but I'll just share a few. One is have a gratitude list, right? I literally write down people and things that I'm thankful for. I have a conversation out loud of the people and the things that I'm thankful for. I literally express it out loud, who I'm thankful for, what I'm thankful for. That puts me in the right mental and emotional state. And so because we're going to have negativity that creeps in, we all have it. We all have these negative voices of doubt and fear and worry trying to creep in. And when you're in a state of gratitude, you typically are not allowed to let those evil thoughts, bad thoughts come in because you're so focused on the blessings and the prosperity and the giftings that you have. And so for me, it's like just gratitude's got to be key. I mean, other things that I do, I read, I pray, I exercise. These are all things that I do to help keep a positive mindset.
Uh, a few answers ago, you kind of mentioned the importance of how much are you actually practicing so that you know your content. And how do you prepare? Well, for something like yourself, how do you prepare? Like you have a big presentation coming up or a big talk coming up. How do you go about it? Do you start like months in advance to start prepping for it? Do you practice it every single day? What's your routine?
Yeah, so I think a good model to live by is that you want to practice 4 times as much as you play. And so I use basketball as an example. The greatest basketball players in the world, they'll have a 60-minute game, right? But they will spend weeks and months to prepare for that one game, right? And so I'll use I think it was Usain Bolt. He was sharing a quote, and so when he runs on the track, he runs for like a little over, less than 10 seconds. It's like
Yes.
9.5 seconds, something like that. He'll run for. And he said he trained 4 years to run 9 seconds. So to me, it's like how much effort and time you want to put in. For me, it's like if I have a speech, I'm not just going to go do the speech. I'm going to outline, I'm going to rehearse, I'm going to practice. I'm going to practice virtually. I may practice by myself. I may practice in my car, but I'm going to keep practicing it over and over again. So they say amateurs practice until they get it right, but professionals practice until they can't get it wrong. And I'd rather practice until I can't get it wrong. And how many reps that takes is going to be up to the person. So for me, it's like I just keep practicing to the point where I'm so confident that I know exactly what I'm going to do on that stage.
Mhm. What's your method of practicing? Do you just go through the entire presentation over and over and over again, or do you start at certain parts, or do you kind of go off cuff for a bit so that you can adjust to like miscellaneous things that happen on stage?
Yeah, so it's a mixture. So for me, I was with a client before this and talking about speech outlines. And so I think a simple framework to outline a speech is one, know the very first sentence you're going to say, because that's the hook. That's what captures the attention. And the audience is very judgmental because we're all judgmental people. And when the first 7 seconds, the audience is making a judgment if they want to keep listening to you or not. It's subconscious belief. And so the very first thing that you say has to be something that captures attention. And so when I'm outlining a speech, I must nail the very first line that I say. The next thing is that I must nail a story that connects with the audience. After that, I must have at least 3 key points where I'm teaching the audience something. And then lastly, I have a strong call to action to conclude. So typically it could just be not even 10 words long, right? It could just be hook in the beginning, first phrase, story. What's the story? Like, what's the key? What's the name of the story? My three key bullet points, what I'll be teaching on, call to action. And that's how I will outline it and frame it. And so I don't want to sound too rehearsed. I believe that you should practice consistently. But if you sound too rehearsed, then it becomes robotic. And
Mhm.
so I always stay authentic to the story. I practice as much as I can. And then I will always leave room for me to adjust because, like, sometimes certain things will land on one audience and they won't land in another audience. That's why you got to know your audience very well because you got to understand where you can be flexible in your approach. So, for example, one time I went to go speak to an audience and I bombed. It was awful. Like I was speaking, I'm like, this is not going well. And I had everything in my head of what I was gonna say, and I looked out like people were sleeping, they were snoring. I was like, "Oh, this is bad. This is real, real bad." And so I had a speech outline to present, and halfway through my speech, I threw it out the window. I just like, all right, I'm gonna stop this whole thing. And I shared another story, and all of a sudden, they weren't sleeping no more. They were paying attention because I was like, I had the wrong story that this audience just couldn't connect to. But when I shifted to this other story in real time, everybody perked up and started listening. And so it's having the flexibility, be very well rehearsed, but also be well adaptable to understand that you might have to change things along the way.
Now, when it comes to having the right content, lots of people out there has the fear of, well, I don't know what to say. And I truly believe that everybody has a message, everybody has a story, everybody has something that they can share that's of value of to somebody else. How do you help people find their content? How do you help people find that story that they can actually go out there and do presentations on or speak on?
So there's usually three areas that you want to pull the story from. Area number one is transition, right? So you were in one phase of life, now you're in a new phase of life. Typically, when you're transitioning from one phase of life to another phase of life, like a lot of new feelings, new ideas, new experiences along the way because you're taking on a new identity. And a lot of times that's where very powerful stories will come from. So be thinking about transition points of your life. The next phase is where you went through a difficult season. You're very angry, you're very sad, you're hurt, right? These are your challenging moments. And these are going to be great places to pull stories from. And then the last one is what's called the defining moment. This is where your entire life changed forever, good or bad. Is usually you get a handful of these moments over the course of a lifetime. And those are huge stories in our lives that can connect. As long as you take one of those three, you can use all three in a speech, but you want to have at least one of those in a speech. And you just want to make sure whatever story you do pull out from your life after you kind of reflect upon your life, your experiences, is that make sure that story, you tell that story in a way that connects to the audience.
Mhm.
And so if you can tell the story in a way that connects to the audience, it's going to land very well with them.
And I guess my next question to kind of follow up with that is, what is that way? How do people find the right way to tell something so that they can connect with the audience?
Yeah, so you want to use what's called the universal principles.
Mhm.
So, for example, I had a time when I was in the military, and I remember when I came back home that I was very, very lonely and no one was there for me. I was just in Iraq. I came back. It was a disaster because I came back to nobody, right? It was sad. It was very sad.
Mhm.
And so if I'm telling a story and I say, hey, about that experience, and I asked the question, hey, by show of hands, how many people here have ever came back from Iraq and nobody was there? Maybe no, maybe one or two hands are gonna go up, maybe, right? Probably no hands. But if I tell the story in a way of, hey, by show of hands, how many people have ever felt alone?
Right.
Different frame, because most people can have at least one experience in life where they felt alone. So it's always framing your unique experiences around a universal emotion that most people feel.
Mhm. Now, having that strategy in play, there's always that awkward silence too, because you're waiting for a response. You ask a question, you're waiting for them to respond. There's also that pause, and there's lots of people out there who's afraid of that pause. They're afraid of that little bit of silence and they feel like, oh, I need to answer the question right away, or I need to move on to the next thing right away. How does a person get comfortable on stage and be comfortable with the pause, with the silence?
I believe the best speakers know how to shut up appropriately. Okay, that's what I just truly believe. And so most of the time speakers, the reason why they struggle is because they feel like they have to talk. So if they have 30 minutes, they have to talk the entire 30 minutes. So it's just like one big breath and they talk the whole time. All right, done. Right. And they feel like they have to do that. And for me, I'm like, where are people teaching this stuff? Like this is ineffective speaking. Like it's horrible. Okay. And so I believe you want to put strategic pauses every few minutes or less in your talk because when you don't have pauses, what essentially you do is that you're taking all your information, your story, your content, and it's like you're taking your audience to a buffet line and you're forcing them to eat the entire buffet in one sitting. Like, all right, you're going to eat every single thing right now. And they can't digest it. It's too much. It's overloading them. But when you put strategic pauses in your speech, you give them one bite at a time. Ooh, that was good. I'll take some more. Another one. Ooh, that was good. I'll take another one. And so you sprinkle it out. And so I believe the best time to use pauses are when you say something profound, or if you say something very personal or vulnerable, or something that you know is very relatable or powerful quote. You always want to, when you say something important, you pause. I say 3 to 5 seconds max, and then you go back to speaking. And speakers got to get comfortable with the silence. And usually speakers are not comfortable with silence because they're insecure. Insecure speakers leave no room for pauses or they're untrained. I believe a well coached and trained speaker who's confident in their material will put in pauses to allow their audience to catch up because a speaker will talk faster than the audience can listen. And that's why when they talk, they need to pause, give the audience a chance to take that emotional moment in, let them feel that before you jump to the next point. I was coaching a client before and they were sharing their story and they were talking about how their mom died and they talked about it like it was nothing. And I was like, whoa, like, oh yeah, so my mom died and then I went to school the next day and then I had lunch that day. And I'm just like, wait. Your mom died? And you jumped right into I went to school the same like whoa, like bring me into the feeling of the pain, of the crisis, of the trauma. Don't brush over it. So speakers, embrace the pain, embrace the difficult parts of your life, and invite your audience into it. That's how you build the connection.
Mhm. I think you may have mentioned this already, but there's lots of things that people do on stage that are considered no-nos. One thing that I consider as a no-no is when a person goes up there and goes, bear with me, this is my very first time, or they go up there and goes, oh, I'm very, very nervous, I'm sick. What are some absolute no-nos that people do on stage that one, they don't recognize, that you go, wait, you don't do that.
So I would say even very advanced speakers do this. So which is unfortunate. A lot of times it's the very first, I would say very first like 5 to 7 seconds the speaker does something stupid in my opinion, right? And it's not like they're intentionally doing it. So for example, a speaker will get introduced and it's their time to take the stage. This is their time to shine, to command the attention of the audience in the room. And the very first thing that they do is, hi, my name is such and such. They already told us your name, dude. Like they just announced your name 2 seconds ago. Do we need to tell you your name a third time? Are you going to tell us in the beginning, middle? Like, come on. Like they just introduced you. We didn't forget. We're not dumb. So most speakers say, "Hi, my name is," and then they make small talk, right? And they feel like that makes, and I think they do that as a way to cope with the nervousness, is to make small talk. So, hey, how everybody doing out there? Like, um, that's not the time for to do that. Like, no, like get into your speech. Hi, how's the weather out there? Oh, hi, I'm from Sutton. They don't really care. Like, get into the message. And so to me, those are no-nos. Is this thing on? Does this mic work? Can you all hear me? Like things like that too in the beginning. Just like, yeah, like we're here because you're a professional. We want to learn from you, but you're getting up there and acting like you know nothing. in the first 7 seconds. And then usually after that, the speakers get good. But it's the first 7 seconds, they're fumbling around. You never get a second chance at a first impression. So make sure you kill it in the first 7 seconds.
Mhm. What's your strategy when it comes to getting comfortable with the environment, stage, audiences? Do you show up at the venues early? Do you go to the events early? Do you mingle with the people like with the audience before they even know you're a speaker kind of thing? Like how do you build that comfort before you go up on stage?
I mean, for me, it's about the relationships. So it's always getting there early, do like a walkthrough, like even like the day before or before the event starts, like getting familiar with the stage, where you're going to sit, the lighting, the sound, all those things, sound check, do all these things ahead of time prior. And then always engaging with the people that, the event coordinators, the host, people that potentially be in the room, building relationships, talking with them. I think that's going to be key. And just being a person, just being yourself, being
Mhm.
authentically you and building relationships is always a great way to really build trust. And you can win your audience over before you even on the stage if you're building relationships.
Mhm. Very, very true. Because especially with you've already built some relationships with the audience, and the audience may or may not know that you're a speaker. And once they see you up there, they feel this rapport with you already. So that's very, very important. Now, for somebody like yourself, when you are preparing for a presentation, you do you prepare for miscellaneous things that might may or may not happen? Like, what if this doesn't work, or what if that doesn't work? Do you do different scenarios so that when things do come up sporadically, you're able to act on the fly?
Yeah, so I think, not a lot, but I do think about it, right? It's something, what would I do if, the lights went out or this doesn't work? Or the typical thing that definitely does happen is the speaker before me goes over way over time because they love to go over time like it's limitless, right? Because they don't really respect the clock and the time that they're allotted. And then so, okay, Jesse, you had 30 minutes. You actually got 14. Hope it works for you. Okay, I can't wait. All right, so it's being able to me, the time is a big thing. So it's like being able to be flexible, as mentioned before, being able to adapt. And so I think about things like, what if this goes wrong? What if that goes wrong? Being able to prepare ahead of time to still provide the audience with as much value as possible.
Mhm. What has been one of the most interesting things that you had to adjust to?
I mean, my mic stopped working completely on stage before. That wasn't great. So luckily the setting was to the point where I could project my voice loud enough so they could still hear me. So
Mhm.
the mic literally just it like broke. And I was like, all right, so I just put it down and I just kept on going like, now I just had to talk louder. So it was frustrating, but you know what? Part of being professional is understanding things can and will go wrong from time to time, and then still being able to push through anyways.
Mhm. You mentioned before that before you became a speaker, you were an author. You wrote the book, losing what was it? Losing faith and having hope or finding hope. How did you get to that book and share with us some of the stuff that people are missing by not reading that book?
Yeah, so that book was probably the most influential decision of my life as far as things in business goes. That's a personal story I shared about my daughter who was born prematurely. And so she has dramatically changed my life. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't even be here doing this show right now. I wouldn't be a speaker. I wouldn't be an author, coach, hosting events. I wouldn't be doing none of these things. And so that book was my gift to her. It was my gift to the world. She was born prematurely and she was 4 months early and she was 1 pound and she could fit in the palm of my hand. And then 42 days of her fighting for her life, she passed away. And the worst experience of my life. And because of her, I was inspired by her every day, the way that she would fight, the way that she would keep going. And then I realized I was like, man, how much in my life if I'm not like I watch her fight, but I'm not fighting for certain things in my life. And so I realized I got to fight harder for the things that I know that I'm called to do. And so that book about being able, even when you're losing some faith in, her name is also Faith, so it had a double meaning, right? So her name is Faith. I was losing my faith, but also the hope was in the healing. The hope was in sharing the story. The hope was not letting the worst experience of my entire life ruin my life, because it almost did.
Right.
It almost ruined my life. But I decided that would not be a great way to honor her memory. And that from this day forward, I'm going to choose to take the worst experience of my life and use it as a blessing for other people.
Mhm. That is very, very unfortunate. Like those difficult times is when we're finding the strength to overcome. And uh, how were you able to you like how were you able to find the strength to then use that to help other people, like share the story? And because lots of people want to go, okay, no, this is mine. I want to. It's too hard to share, and every time they share that story, it hurts even more. How do you embrace that pain, knowing that you can help other people?
Well, I think in the beginning, I was sharing this story out of my own selfishness of I just wanted to heal me. And so when I would share, it would help me heal, right? But I was sharing the story from a place of my wounds. I was sharing it from a place of pain.
Mhm.
And as I gone through my healing journey, which is to me is a lifetime experience, I'll be healing from this for the rest of my life, is that in the beginning, when I would share the story, I always shared it from a place of pain. And then eventually, now when I share the story, I share it from a place of healing. And typically, when speakers are getting up there, and I believe everyone should share their story and what they've gone through, but most speakers, they want to just share their story from the place of their pain, not the place of their healing.
Mhm.
And so there's a difference in how you tell that story. And so I was speaking to people and I'm crying up on the stage and I'm supposed to be leading them. Well, now they're feeling sorry for me. Like I don't think that's professional either. And I had to learn how to, I got to really work on myself so much to the point where I am putting in the work every single day to heal this broken heart of mine. And then to the point where I can help other people put their pieces back together. And that became the mission.
Very, very powerful stuff. Let's say we put you back on the world stage, which I'm sure you're gonna be doing very soon again. What's a message that you would like everybody remember Jesse for?
That's a great question. I don't think I've ever been asked that question, by the way. Thank you for that. I believe that I want to be remembered for is a few things. But the first thing is he's a man of faith. He's a great husband. He's a great dad. Because those are the most important relationships to me. And then after that is that this man was willing to do whatever it takes to create a better life for the people he helped. And that just happens to be through sharing stories.
Mhm.
And that's what I want to be remembered for.
Great stuff. That concludes our formal portion of the interview. I got five quick rapid fire questions for you. Give me the first thing that comes to mind. You're stranded on a deserted island, one food to eat for the rest of your life, no consequence.
Oh, shoot. One food and it's the only food I get to have?
Yeah, and there's no consequence. So you're not gonna be unhealthy. You're not gonna be sick. You're not gonna get fat. It's all good. So one food.
Oh, wow. This is gonna be so probably a mango. I love mango.
Very nice. Hollywood calls and goes, "Hey Jesse, we love your story. Your inspiration. Your story is gonna help a lot of people. We would like to do a biopic of you. Who would you cast to play you?"
What actor would I have play me in the movie?
Yep.
Hmm. I'm gonna go go with The Rock.
Awesome. The Rock shows up at your door. Hey Jesse, buddy, I got casted to play you. Let's have some fun. Let's hang out. Let's get to know each other. And go, hey, The Rock, let's ha hang out. I got the entire night planned out. Here's what we're gonna do. What are you gonna do?
Hmm. Well, I think Got the whole night planned. I'm gonna go hang out with The Rock for the day. That's the question.
Yeah. What does the day look like? Where are you taking them? What are you guys doing?
Man, that's a great question. I would say first I'd have to see if I could body slam him, wrestling style, because that's where I first, became a fan of The Rock. But then, I would try to learn as much as I can from him. Really, I would just try to study his demeanor, his brain, and really just ask him questions. So for me, it'd be probably going to some sort of live event together, some coaching or masterminding together, and then also go with him to watch our movie premiere together at the end.
Awesome. Well, as you know, he has those cheat days where he eats like a ton of food. So coincidentally, that night is his cheat day. What would you like to, what kind of cuisine would you like to eat with
On his cheat day.
him?
So
Yep.
we both have a cheat day on the same day. Sure. I mean, there's so many things. So I mean, I would definitely probably have, because it's been a while, I would probably have some brownies and some cookies. That'd be, yeah, I'll have that.
Oh wow. I can only imagine that a cheat day for The Rock on cookies is like hundreds and hundreds of cookies.
Right.
Uh, give me a number from 1 to 4.
3.
One, two, three. So if you had to use a bowling ball as a metaphor for success, how is success like a bowling ball?
How is success like a bowling ball?
Yep.
All right, cool. So success is like a bowling ball because although you may have a path that you see directly in front of you, sometimes if we get distracted too much, we fall into the gutter. But the beauty about it is that we get to try again and again, one more rep, one more time, one more practice to knock down one more pin on the way to our success.
Nicely done. So that's how success is like a bowling ball. Thank you very much for your time. It's been amazing, and I learned a lot from you. So thank you. Any final words from you that you would like to share? And what's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
The best way for people to get in touch with me is just connect with me right on Facebook, Jesse Cruz. And one last piece I want to share with is like, if you have a story, I promise you, it's worth it. It's valuable and it's needed to be heard. You just got to have the courage to tell it.
Nicely done. So everybody make sure you connect with Jesse. He has a lot of great content on LinkedIn and Facebook as well. Lots of great videos, tips, and little nuggets for people to use on and implement right away into their talks and presentations. So make sure you connect with Jesse. And until next time, he's Jesse. My name is Fong. Today is the day to lock the peak potential. We'll see you later.